Okay, so we're going to be doing the laser demo here. I've renamed mine to just underscore laser so I can keep track of files. So what we've got right here is this is the house I created a couple weeks ago. You can see that I've created this base plate. We have a front panel, side panels, back panel, and a roof. I got a little fancy and added some of these in. This was based on a previous year's file as well. So like my window I think was only 4 foot tall or something. So we'll go ahead and recreate this process though, and I'll walk you guys through it. So let's go ahead and start here first. Let's get our base together. So I've got my wall hatch hidden right now. I'm going to copy this over. Um, at this point, I should have given you guys the wood in class, but for this demo, we don't have access to it. But we are going to be using, oh, I forget what the thickness is. I think it's 1/8 inch. Whatever it is, it worked out pretty well to just using a foot as a kind of standard thickness for it. So I'm using the exterior dimensions of this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to offset this in 1 foot on all of these sides. And so this tells me what our floor plan is going to look like. Also, we need to do a line right here, and then we'll offset this 6 inches in each direction, so one way and the other. And so these are all the walls we need to make. Now, if we use those exterior dimensions, we can see that we've got these overlaps right here. We don't want to have those overlaps, so we're going to have to make these sides a little bit shorter. Because again, go back to the image here, you can see here's the side, and it's cut like this, and then here's the hole. So I used, these are, the thickness is a little bit smaller than 1 foot when it's to scale. So, but I'm just going to use that. And then the nice thing about those is you can glue them all together once you have your model and use that. So I'm going to go ahead and just finish doing this. So this will be how our layout is as far as the thickness of the material. The other thing I want to do is I'm going to offset these in again another 6 inches, and I created, or sorry, another foot. So I'm going to offset this 1 foot, and I created these little areas here for these to drop in. One tricky part is where this door is here in the middle. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to grab this part of this wall right here, then I'm going to reference the exterior corner right here, and I'm going to drop that right here. So what we'll end up having, oops, again, and I did 6 inches. So actually, let me just move these back and we'll keep it as close to mine as possible. So 6 inches right there. I wasn't sure if they'd be, I tried a couple things experimentally on mine. So what we can see right here is that we have all these areas going on. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to offset this out 3 feet. So I'm going to join this, and then we're going to offset 3 feet out, and this will be our base. So this is the, where'd it go? Did I really just close it? So this will be the base right here, and then we'll offset the roof 2 feet as well. So we'll grab this, offset 2 feet, and then it's going to take a little bit of work just to kind of keep this organized. So just try and remember what you've got going on here. So this will be our base, this is our roof. The roof isn't going to be perfectly aligned because that's not how math works, but this is close enough. It's off like a fraction of a millimeter. So now that we have this, let's draw some rectangles. And what I'm going to do is these will be the holes that we drop the that they slide into. And then actually this one could come back down another 6 inches. And then this one can offset up 1 foot. So these will be, the side will be like kind of slim tabs. Or at least, yeah, that's what I did. These were kind of slim, and then the full width things were a little bit thicker. So we'll do a rectangle here, and then there, and let's see what I've missed. So we'll delete that, delete that, delete that. Yeah, that's what it should be. So again, we'll have the sides going between here, front and back between here, side right there, and then this, because you're gonna have so little thickness here for that door that I just kind of didn't like. If I let me go grab that door and I'll show you kind of why I made that decision. So if I copy this door from the same outside corner, you can see that there's like the doors there's basically no thickness here. So that's why I just kind of made that decision. Yeah, okay. Okay, all right, let's get rid of all the other stuff again so we can get rid of that, get rid of that. Oops, not all that. Okay, so again, we have these 1 foot wide or 1 foot by 1 foot 6. These will be our supports that things slide into, and then we'll just deal with this. Okay, that's our roof. So now we need to actually build our exteriors. The exterior for this one, it should be pretty simple. It's going to be 15 feet across. Go ahead and move this over. So this will be our back. It's going to be 8 foot tall. So this is our back piece. Now we need to make these pegs for it to slide into. So I'm going to offset this 1 foot on each side. And then 1 foot on the bottom. And then we'll just shift this down into here. And then we'll trim the rest of this out. And it is worth mentioning that any place you have a line is where the laser cutter is going to cut. So we need to make sure that we have good clean lines here. Also make sure you don't have overlapping lines. We'll kind of discuss that once we get into the Illustrator part of this. Yeah, so we'll grab this right here. Now I'm grabbing the full width of this. I'm going to put it right there. I'm going to rotate it so it's facing that way. And then again, because I did corner to corner here, I need to take this up to 8 feet. So we're going to, again, operate like we're going with the full thing here. Connect that together, and then this needs to get offset in 1 foot and 1 foot because we're losing that on the outside here. Then again, we're going to offset this another 6 inches in on both sides. And then this, we're going to offset down 1 foot. So this will be, these are our tabs for the, or this is the edge really for this one. And then this whole thing will come down to here. So this will get chopped off. We'll have these little half tabs. Again, if we go back to the picture, you can see that this is that half tab right there. We could probably make it a little bit thicker because I'm rounding a bit to the dimensions. So we've got this right here. We'll go ahead and trim this out. And we've got, we need to get rid of that. Get rid of those. And so then just to do a double check, this should not be the full length of the previous one. So that's 10 feet and this is 12 feet. So we've lost a foot on both sides for the front and back. So this should be good right here. We'll go ahead and place a window in the center of that. So we'll steal our window. We'll reference the center point here. And then we're just going to get rid of all the extra stuff around our window. I don't want it. Let's get rid of outside right there. Okay, so we're now at least blessed in the point that we can do a mirror and just mirror this, don't erase. So those are both of our sides right there. And then we need to deal with our front. So I'm going to come over here. I'm actually going to re-grab the front, kind of like I'm doing the elevations. And we'll put this right here. This is going to be 10 feet. So actually, let's explode these first. So we'll offset this up to 10 feet. And then for fun, you can see I added some clerestory windows in mine. Let's see. Let's offset this up to 6'8". I don't know, my voice is drying out after talking too much in the previous video. Okay. We can make it. So there's our door. And then we'll do our window, also up to 6'8". And then we'll offset this down so we did a slightly taller window than what's in my previous example. And again, come back in here and clean things up. So I don't want to have this for sure. I also don't want to have a duplicate unnecessary line right there. And that's just because of how our laser cutter tracks lines. So I've got that right there. Let me double check something else. Actually, so let's do, let me double check. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to offset this 1 foot. Next, we're going to offset this again 2'6". And this will make sense in a second. But we're adding the clerestory windows that I added in mine. So we'll just do this, that, and that. So again, we've got these 1 foot gaps, 2'6". We're going to offset this 1 foot down. And we're going to offset it. Actually, sorry, let's do, how did mine turn out? Yeah, let's do 6 inches. Offset 6 inches. And then let's do this at 9 feet. That's too high, so let's offset this. What was it, 6? Let's do 1 foot from here. I'm kind of winging some of this. But I think it makes it more visually interesting. Okay, so we'll trim these out. Trim. Oh, I will fix that. Okay, so we have our clerestory windows. We have our front door, front window. Is that all I had, or did I have? No, that's it. Okay. So we just have that window, and then we need to do, so let's offset this 1 foot. Offset this 1 foot down. This can just get moved down. And then let's go ahead and just extend all these things down as we need to. So that'll come here. We'll have to deselect it. This will come here. Do that. And then this one I'll just have to offset this 1 foot. Actually, no, we'll leave that as it is. This one, though, we need to bring down. So it's a little bit of just sort of thinking about how this is all going to go together, working within that 1 foot, 6 foot sort of thing. There we go. Okay, so what we should now have is all, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 parts necessary. So we've got our base, we have our roof, we have our back wall, we have our 2 side walls, and we have our front. Let's just do a quick double check and make sure we didn't screw up anything like that right there. So these should be approximately the same height, except for the fact that this one is going to lose a little bit at its peak because we got rid of the front. So if this way extended about a foot further, we would have that match up at the top. So it shouldn't do that. We have our clerestory windows. Oh, we need our middle. That's what we're missing still. So we need our middle. So for that, what we'll do is we'll just go front to here. And then rotate this around. And we went to front. So we need to do this up to Actually, let's do it all the way. So let's go out here. So we did full front to back, just like we would have started with the, actually, what am I doing? We've cut this right here. So we'll take this, because this should fit right in that spot. And then, just because of how it's going to go together, where's my middle piece? Oh no, we should have, yeah, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so we should have 7. So because this door would technically kind of, because there isn't enough space right here, if this comes in a foot, it's right here. So I'm going to just make a fake little sliver right here. So I'm just going to offset this. We've got 6 inches right here, which is already past. So we'll offset this. We'll do, actually no, we'll just leave it at 6 inches. And then let's see how far back this goes. So CO, we'll try and get a reference from here. So it's not going to be 100% exact, but that's the problem. And then now that we've got this, I'll set this 6'8" up. And then we'll just trim away some of that excess and that right there and that right there. Okay, so we should have these 7 shapes now. I think we're good to go there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new sheet. Let's just copy this so that I don't have to. I'm just going to call this A102. Again, you guys don't have to do this. This is just sort of going to make it easier for me to export this. So we'll turn on our viewports so I can delete the viewports. And then viewport, where am I? Viewport. And we just need a single, just do fit, and then get rid of that, set it to scale, and then we'll have to shift some of these around so that they'll all fit in here. So let's get rid of, oops, let's get rid of that. We don't actually need the sheet number for this. And then let's see. We're going to rearrange these anyway once we get into Illustrator. So this doesn't matter so much as just getting a good export. So let's grab this one and we'll move this down. And so that should be all 7 of our pieces. And so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and save this. And then we'll file, oh, sorry, no. Yeah, we'll export just this sheet. So publish or print. Continue to plot a single sheet. We're going to do DWG to PDF. Scale with the plot layout. And then we're just doing this one, right? Page setup. Why won't you let me do a... Okay, and then we'll preview it, see what this looks like. So we should end up with this right here. So we're going to go ahead and hit print, and it should export a PDF for me. I go back to the class. So here's my cutting demo. There's our PDF. And we're good to go there. So let's take that. I'll load Illustrator and I'll see you guys in that. Okay, so we're back here in Illustrator. I'm going to do a couple things first here. One of them is going to be, I'm going to rotate this. Well, first I'm going to shrink this down. I don't remember what dimensions I got you guys for everything. I think we had 8" by 8". Let me go grab the square. Okay, I did screw up one thing right there. We actually need to go back into AutoCAD. So this needs to be 1/8 inch scale. I forgot that we had to shrink it down to 1/8 inch. So 1/8 inch scale. Um, so we'll do this. We'll save it. We will go to print, plot single sheet, DWG to PDF. We don't need to worry about that. Just check preview. Good to go. So we'll send that, update that. Yes, overwrite. Cool. All right, so let's go back into Illustrator now. Reload this. Okay, so let's go ahead and rotate this now. And honestly, we'll just do this. We'll shrink our document to width of, I think it's 6.5 inches by 6.5 inches. So you can see kind of the space that we're working with here. And we'll get rid of that extra line right there. And then just so it stops messing with my head, I'm going to rotate this so it's facing that way. Okay, so let's grab this. Welcome back to Illustrator, by the way. You'll have to release a clipping mask here. You might have to ungroup some things. Hopefully you guys remember all the controls here. Looks like oh no, there is a clipping mask. So, whatever there was. Oops, not a cut. Was there a clipping mask? No. Okay, I think we're good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move, really? Is it grouped? Something's part of a group. Or is it, oh, there it is. Okay. Got to watch out for those sneaky little lines. Okay, so try and cram as much as you can, as tight as you can in here. I'm going to put like this right here. And just use the arrow keys to kind of nudge it over a little bit. We'll grab this and we'll put it right there. And then the rest of these should fit pretty cleanly. You guys should have a little bit of space left over in case something gets screwed up. You probably won't get 2 full runs out of the sheet. Some of these faces, you could sort of just kind of put those together like that, but I don't know. I don't trust the thing. I'm going to leave a little bit of space for myself here. So just a little tiny gap, and then we'll put that right there. And actually, let's see if we can't get... Again, we're just kind of Jengaing these into place, or Jenga Tetrising these into place. So if I wanted to, I could probably actually just take this right here, rotate it, and we could probably cram a couple things into this wasted space. So just in case I needed to rerun this, right there. So now I've got enough space for a couple of these to go in here. And I could probably get a little bit crazier even and like flip some of these around in different directions. But this is good enough. Now, the other thing I want to point out is that our laser cutter is going to do this in a certain order. So what I want you guys to do is open up your layers menu here and open up this tab. And you can see that we've got all these individual tabs. What I found through messing with it is that it's going to start at the bottom of this list and move its way up. And right now, because none of these are ordered in any way, it's going to start at whatever's at the bottom. So it would grab this particular line first, and then it would go to this line, and then this line. So, and that line is this whole thing, right? So it would do one line, and then the head would move over here, cut this whole shape out, and then it would come back, do this whole shape, and then it would do this shape, and then this shape, and then this shape. And so you can see it's jumping kind of all over the place. So when you're doing this, I want you to think about how do I want it to cut stuff out? And specifically, also think about how do I make sure that it doesn't do anything weird? And what I mean by that is we don't want to cut out the outsides of things until the insides are cut out, just in case the material shifts. So what you don't want to have happen is you don't want to have it cut out this whole shape right here, and then the material slightly twist and it cuts out everything inside of it just off. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go through here, and I'm going to grab this whole set of lines right here. Actually, no, let's do this. Let's do this. We'll move everything down one at a time. So this will be our big first thing. So I'm going to move everything here. I'm going to do Control Shift and the left bracket. This is now all at the bottom. Then I'm going to select everything inside of it and move all of this to the bottom. So now what it should do is, as it goes through its order, is that okay? Yeah. It'll do. Oh, and we need to group these. So we'll select these little lines because these are individuals for some reason. But just this. So we'll take this, we'll group it, and we're good to go. So now what it should do is we'll just check our paths here. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I'm not too worried about that. Okay, and then it'll cut out the outside of it. Then it'll cut out the outside of this. We don't need to worry too much about that. This one's pretty simple too. Let's do a selection over here and just make sure that we got everything there. Go ahead and join it actually. I think that gives us a path instead of a group. And see how this one's all the way at the top. So this one would be the last thing it would cut. So we're going to move this down to the bottom. And then we're going to grab this. I think this is, yeah, it still doesn't have those on the bottom. And we'll go ahead and join these as well. Oh, not a join. Deselect that. Join the outside. And then these. So it's kind of a little bit of just messing with it. But what we're looking for is we don't want to have it screw up in the process. And it takes just a little bit of kind of keeping an eye on it at this point to make sure that it doesn't do anything weird on us. Next we'll do this subset right here. And we'll go ahead and join these as well. Let's just move this over here. Now this one's a little bit more complex. Actually, did I move this one down to the bottom? I did not. We'll do a double check at the end anyway. We'll grab this. Move all this down to the bottom. You can see there's a whole bunch of little paths in this. So these need to get joined so they're their own group. These need to get joined. These need to get joined. See, so if it did, again, I'm kind of just trying to make sure you guys understand this. Starting from the bottom up, it would do this path, it would go somewhere else and do 2 other paths, then come back to this one. So we're trying to, this will speed up the print time massively, just by going through and just cleaning a little bit of this stuff up. Make sure I got everything there, so we'll join this. So then now that those are all joined together, we'll again move them down to the bottom. and then we'll deselect this and move these down to the bottom. So we cut the insides first and then the outside. And then, oops, not that. Let's do this. So then we'll join these, and then we'll join those. And then move them down to the bottom, and then move this down to the bottom. So we've shortened our path list from what it was. Actually, oh, that's right, I grouped this. We don't want to group this. We want to, where are you? Sorry, ungroup. We want to, oops, don't rotate it. I want to, that's how you know I've been working in AutoCAD as I keep going to go type stuff now. So we'll join these. Okay, so let's just do a once over and make sure we've got everything right. So it's going to do that window, the wrap for that window. It's going to do that window, that window. We could probably move this one up just a couple steps. So we'll go that window, that window, that window, that window, that window, and then the wrap. Then we'll do this one. So I'm going to go in a counterclockwise pattern here. We'll do that window, the wrap, that whole wrap, that whole wrap, and then we'll do all of these here, and then the wrap. So it only took like a short time to configure that and just make sure everything's clean. We have one other thing we need to do as well. So we need to make sure there's no fill. We need to check that we've got black as the stroke, and then we need to set this to 0.001 inches. It's probably going to revert to 0.001 point or some other value, but it's going to be 0.001 inches. So you should have fairly thin lines like this. That's what we're looking for. So let me go ahead and do that. And then we're going to save this as JDoe Milestone 4 Laser. Make sure your name is on this. It also needs to be an Illustrator file because of the way that our thing that does it does. So there's AI right there. You can see I've got my laser test file. And I'm going to double check and compare it with what I actually printed mine off with, which did have an error or two. So yeah, so here's the one I did the other week. My main error is that you can see that the width of this was too wide. I needed to pull this in. I didn't account for that. So let me just double check. 0.0072. All right, I'll have to double check what that gap is. There's some specific value that these are supposed to be set to. And this says 0.072 point. And I don't have my notes in front of me from when I did that. Maybe it's 0.01 inches. 0.001 inches. Okay, yeah, that's what it was. It's 0.001 inch. Did I do point? 0.001 point. Okay, yeah, it needs to be 0.001 inches. So make sure you do the IN there. You don't just hit enter. There we go. Okay, so that should be what we're looking for. So this should be what you end up with as your final Illustrator file that you will send over to the print. And then once you've got this done, make sure you've got the file, and we will send that over to print, and then we'll figure out how we get you guys all in there at once to print everything. So, all right, that concludes this demo. I will see you guys in class.